All right, ladies and gentlemen, the Buffalo Bills. So, Sean McDermott got fired a couple of, like a week ago or whatever. Joe Brady got promoted. The offense coordinator got promoted to be the head coach. And we're making a Bills video. The Bills are in the news. They just got their defensive coordinator. I really want to talk about Josh Allen and a little bit about the Buffalo Bills because I've covered the NFL on Will Upton for like 3 or 4 years. I think my one and only video was like Brandon Cooks to Buffalo. I don't think I've ever really made a Buffalo Bills video. And I'm trying a whole Brett Favre thing here today. I got the jeans on, white tee, reading his book, Jeff Pearlman. I believe the book's called Gunslinger. My girlfriend got it for me for Christmas. It's a phenomenal book. I love Brett Favre. I'm not a Gene guy. We're about to go to the mall, and I'm trying to become a Gene guy like I was when I was a kid. And I'm not a Bills guy. And so maybe 2026 is the year of change. I'm becoming a Gene's guy, and I'm going to become a Bills guy. So, first off, the upstate New York, the amount of Bills fans I know, it's actually absurd. And I feel like it applies to almost everybody who's probably born in somewhere between Minnesota to the Atlantic Ocean. You probably know just an abundant amount of Bills fans. Like, it baffles me every playoffs. Like, I get the group texts, go Bills, we're at the Bills game, blah, blah, blah. Like, what? All these people are Bills fans. I love Josh Allen. I think his story is really cool. When I first went to college, I went to a university called Southern Utah University, and they were in the Big Sky Conference. And I can't quite... I know Wyoming isn't in the Big Sky for football, and I think Southern Utah got delegated to, like, Division II or something. But anyways, this is all so confusing. The neck of the woods that I briefly went to college when I was a freshman in Utah, my roommate was from Wyoming, and he is the one and only person at 26 years old that I've ever met or I've ever heard of anybody ever being or living in the state of Wyoming. And he didn't like living in the state of Wyoming, by the way. But Josh Allen comes out of this college, and he goes to Buffalo, and Sean McDermott and the Bills, they come out guns blazing, and my memories of the Buffalo Bills in, like, college is just, all right, let's watch them lose to Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. Let's watch them lose to, whoever it is, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, I don't know, every Bills, Josh Allen playoff loss, but that's it. You watch, like, a few regular season games with the buddies, maybe at a bar, maybe in the living room with the TV, primetime football, you got Ravens, Bills. Josh Allen throws 4 touchdowns, 332 yards, and the Bills win 38-35. 2 months later, they lose to Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. And so it's just been this kind of reoccurring cycle for, the last few years. And then in the last couple years, we haven't really seen that level of play from this Bills team. And if you ask an outsider who I literally know such little about this Bills team outside of just your casual statistics, it shocks me every single season, at least in the last 2 or 3 years, the Buffalo Bills wide receiver room. It reminds me of a worse version of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and it just baffles me. And I guess you can look at, like, all right, well, Keon Coleman is essentially a bust. And Keon Coleman was not supposed to be a bust. And then you've got the whole Bean gets promoted, Brady gets promoted, but the head coach gets fired because the GM and the offensive coordinator are the ones who are able to take and get all the flowers for the development of Josh Allen. I personally don't really think Sean McDermott should have been fired. I don't really get it. As far as Joe Brady goes, I don't really view it as like this crazy upgrade. I keep preaching on this channel like, because the Packers we had Matt LaFleur was maybe going to get fired and Jeff Hafley was a head coach somewhere. Internal dialogues of what if the Packers promote Jeff Hafley and fire Matt LaFleur because Hafley's such a great coordinator in the building that you don't want him to leave per se. Look at Tampa. Like Tampa probably should have giving the head coaching reins to Liam Cohen. You look at Baltimore is the one I always say, where they had John Harbaugh a couple of years ago, or John Harbaugh and Mike McDonald a couple of years ago. They lost in the AFC Conference Championship to Patrick Mahomes. They don't fire John Harbaugh, but Mike McDonald goes to be the Seahawks head coach, and now he's in the Super Bowl. So it's not that. It's not like, oh, you got to keep Joe Brady in the building. So the whole ownership in Buffalo seems like a big major, as an outsider, a super casual stance. The ownership seems to be a little discombobulated. And they remind me of the Packers, where they have these just horrible playoff losses. And all year the writing's on the wall. This year, the leading receivers, or the starting receivers, I should say, for the Buffalo Bills are Brandon Cooks. I don't even know how old Brandon Cooks is anymore. Joshua Palmer and Khalil Shakir. And, Shakir's all these kids are talented. They're all NFL players. But, that's such an uninspiring wide receiver room. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that's the weakness. And so, I look at, my last year of the, honestly, Green Bay with Rodgers always kind of had Devontae Adams. But, I even look at my Packers in the last few years, where we keep having these first, round playoff losses, where we just keep having these really bad playoff losses. And all year, it's who's wide receiver one? We don't really have a guy. And, the Bills, they don't have Stephon Diggs anymore. The Packers don't have Devontae Adams anymore. And you've got all these young kids operating as these gadget joint wide receiver ones, week-to-week basis. There's no level of consistency or reliability. And as a Packers fan, I look at Jordan Love and the Packers the last 3 years. I'm like, we need a more solidified, wide receiver, because none of these kids are turning into it. And they need somebody, because we're trying to win a Super Bowl. The Bills are trying to win a Super Bowl. You need more than Gabe Davis, Keon Coleman, Brandon Cooks, Josh Palmer, and Shakir. So it seems as if, I get it that the Bills have some defensive issues. I believe they had the number one pass defense in the NFL. Their run defense, I think, was bottom 5. Don't quote me on it, but I think it was a bottom 5 rushing defense. So, they'll make some moves defensively. I think I can pull up their estimated cap here. Negative $12.7 million, but you can always play around with that. Mock drafts, let's see, Denzel Boston out of Washington. So it appears, and what's your pick, 26? It appears Buffalo is back to trying to hit on their round 1 wide receiver at pick number 26. And, looks like a bunch of key starters hitting free agency, center, left guard, defensive end, Joey Bosa, Daquan Jones. Looks like they've got some offensive line and defensive line re-signings that they're either going to re-sign or replace that are going to be crucial. It's the line of scrimmage, but like I said, I'm not talking really defense or anything in this video. I just wanted to say I don't even know how old Josh Allen is anymore. I could probably click on this right here and it'll tell me. 29 years old. He'll be 30 by the start of the season. So we're getting to that stage where he doesn't really have anything to show for it as far as Super Bowl rings. He's got the MVP. He's got the accolades. He's got the first teams or the All Pros. He's got the MVPs. He's got the win-loss record. He's had a little bit of playoff success, but we haven't seen him make it to the Super Bowl. And Joe Brady is the head coach now. So I guess that's good in the sense of McDermott was more of a defensive-minded head coach, and Joe Brady, going from offensive coordinator, head coach, is going to be more offensive calibrated, and maybe that's going to be good. Maybe that's going to be good for Josh Allen, and we'll see what Bean, GM, decides to do, if they're going to be aggressive in free agency. I mean, they got it. Let's see if there's a hot take here. All right. This is from Solak. Oh, I just lost my Wi-Fi. By the way, guys, hit that like button, hit that sub button if you haven't already. Thank you for 100 subscribers as well. Still trying to get better a little bit from. I just saw the hot take here, and we'll discuss this. But hit that like button, appreciate it, for 100 subs. We're gonna try and reach 1,000 subs, and that's gonna be our new goal. And I would love to just hit it as soon as possible. So thank you for watching. Mini microphones still. It seems like the whole Mississippi, Nashville, that whole neck of the woods has still no power, which is just crazy. So eventually this microphone will get figured out. Solak, I feel like his name's Ben. A year after Brandon Beane's emphatic statement that they didn't need a wide receiver one went over disastrously, Buffalo will tilt and get aggressive. The Bills will trade a first-round pick and some for Philadelphia's A.J. Brown, believing he could be the final player to push their offense over the edge. I don't know why I didn't even think about this. The big free agent wide receiver is George Pickens. But trading that late first-round pick, 26, and some, whatever that would be, draft picks, players for A.J. Brown, that's exactly the type of stuff I'm talking about here. I think that would be epic. A.J. Brown to Buffalo would solve and fix every single thing I just mentioned in the last 10 minutes of this video. So, A.J. Brown to Buffalo, hot take, that would be epic. That's it for today. Let me know your thoughts on the whole Beane, McDermott, Joe Brady, Josh Allen situation. A report just came out that he played with a broken foot as well. And Josh Allen played through a broken foot. So, more details to come, I'm sure, on that. Thank you for watching. Have a great rest of your weekend. We'll see you soon.